A few months ago, I did a list of the top 10 players for the 2023 NBA. Pretty decent, following and a lot of retention there. And so I thought, why not? Let's head into the 2023 NFL season. And my picks, personally, this is a personal bias. This isn't like fact-driven or anything with stats. It's just like how I see it fit of the top 10 quarterbacks heading into this season for the NFL. Let's first off start with some honorable mentions. I have 3 honorable mentions. Let's first start off with Baker Mayfield. The reason why I think is because he's been given a bad hand lately, but he's trying to rejuvenate his career. And personally, I think the spark that he brought to the Rams towards the end of their season, even though it was in the trash, was decent enough to be put on this list. I think he'll do fine with the Bucs. Deshaun Watson, after sitting out 11 games, dude still is a baller. And so I think, if he can return to his 2019 Texans form, he'll be definitely a lot higher on this list, and he'll probably sneak out a few MVP votes. Number 10, to start the list, I'm going to go with Justin Herbert, just because of how well he played in last season. The only downside was the blown lead, which wasn't all his fault in the wild card against the Jaguars. I think this dude still has huge upside, and I'll give him a chance for the next maybe season or two before it's time to question, okay, how legit is this dude really? Number 9 is Lamar Jackson. I still think, if Joe Burrow's out and he can sneak out a win against, the Bengals and the Browns, definitely he will be, the top quarterback in the AFC North, and they will win the division. A lot of people like to sleep on him and think he's washed, but I still think he's one of those dudes. Number 8, I have Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins goes extremely under the radar, and he's underrated. And he's on this list just because of after watching the quarterback series on Netflix. It makes me realize how much he actually contributed to the Vikings last season and how down-to-earth the dude really is. Like, I really like him, and my opinions on the division winners have changed, but that is coming in a new video. Number 7, I would say, is Trevor Lawrence, and the reason why is just due to his 8-game stretch towards the end of last season. After the failure that was being under Urban Meyer, where people wrote him off as, oh, he's going to be a bust, he has turned around the Jaguars franchise, and I see high hopes for them. I see them winning the South. Could they be a 10-plus win team? Maybe, but also you can't ignore that huge comeback against the Chargers in the wild card last year. Number 6 I have is Josh Allen. A lot of people would put him higher on this list, but for me, I think what's happening to the Bills is they're kind of the second coming of the Packers, where they can be a great regular season team. He just needs to start getting those playoff wins to get him over the edge. Number 5, I put Aaron Rodgers. Yes, this is my personal bias showing a little bit, but just his energy that he's showing in interviews and, with training camps, the dude seems like he loves football again. And when the dude's cooking, usually it's an MVP type season, so that's nothing to sleep on. Number 4, I put Brock Purdy. A lot of people had him so much lower on the list, not even cracking their top 10, but what he did coming in for the 49ers and helping them get to the NFC Championship game, that cannot be ignored. Even though Shanahan is kind of the quarterback whisperer and he can make anybody look good, with how tied the ball game was, with him being injured, who's to say if he wasn't healthy, it was the 49ers playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Number 3 I have is Joe Burrow. This is really hinging upon how many games he's going to be playing this season, but it can't be ignored how leaps and bounds he's taken from his rookie season into transitioning now, where he's won an AFC title. He's run the North for the last few seasons now. His biggest holdup is, can he beat Patrick Mahomes on the road? Or, if they happen to host the Chiefs in the playoffs this season, can he, solidify himself a little bit more, start to get some MVP votes? Because I think he's up there. Number 2 I have is Jalen Hurts. And the reason why is just simply due to the fact that he is so undervalued and unappreciated. When it comes to the landscape of how the Eagles even got to the Super Bowl. You put, Desmond Ridder, Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, not the same product. Even his division rival, you put Dak Prescott in there, or Jacoby Brissett, or, Daniel Jones within the division. You swap quarterbacks, that Philadelphia Eagles team is not going to be as good as they were last year. They're not going to go to the Super Bowl. This dude single-handedly, along with the offensive firepower and that solid defense, he helped carry them to the Super Bowl, which is why I have him at 2 on the list. I personally thought he should have won the MVP. It ended up going to Patrick Mahomes, but that's just me. And then my last honorable mention guy, I got to give it to Taylor Heineke, because dude is so underrated. He is he might not be a perennial all-star quarterback where it's like, okay, he's starting all 17 games, but he's a decent enough backup, and he's just like Jacoby Brissett, where if you need a win, this dude can get you a win. His biggest win last season was when he beat the Eagles on the road. So, I think he's a dude. And then number one on this list, obviously, we got to go with the Super Bowl MVP. Two-time champ now. Dude has 2 rings, so there's not a lot to prove, but there's a huge target on the Chiefs' back right now. And if he shows up and he has a season like how he did in 2020, but also 2018 where his stats are through the roof, there's no reason to not have him at number one on this list.